then ship it to the lab. This is your year. Own it.
Cologuard is not right for everyone. It is not for high-risk individuals, including those with a history of colon cancer or precancer, IBD, certain hereditary cancer syndromes, or a family history of colon cancer. Ask your doctor if Cologuard is right for you. Covered by Medicare and most major insurers.
At Safelite Auto Glass, we really pride ourselves on making it easy for you to get your windshield fixed. With Safelite, you can see exactly when we'll be there, saving you time for what you love most.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel as we continue our special coverage of potential Tropical Cyclone 7. I'm meteorologist Julie Martin. Taking a look here at what we have going on in the tropics. It's a very active picture, right? We have a couple of systems now off the coast of Africa, including Tropical Storm Florence, which is continuing to strengthen. Also, the one we're following tonight, potential Tropical Cyclone 7 here, which could become a tropical depression or a tropical storm within about another day to 2 days. And then in the Pacific, Tropical Storm Olivia and Hurricane Norman, hard at work there. So we've got a lot going on, but we want to focus in on 7 right now. This tropical depression or storm likely forming in the eastern Gulf pretty soon. Heavy rain is going to be the first impact, and that's going to start tomorrow in Florida for you, in South Florida. Tropical storm conditions are possible across the Gulf Coast as well. Once the storm gets into the Gulf of Mexico, it could possibly strengthen, and either way, it's going to bring a lot of rain to the Gulf Coast states. Right now, winds at 30 miles per hour. It is moving to the west-northwest at around 15. It's located right here in between, say, Cuba and the Bahamas, pushing off to the west-northwest. And by tomorrow, edging much closer to Florida. So 80% chance of development, according to the National Hurricane Center, which is a pretty good chance, right, that it's going to become either a depression or a storm. At this point, a tropical storm. Plenty of moisture here. You can clearly see it, although it's not really very well organized at the moment. We've got plenty of that that's going to be pulled up into the Gulf of Mexico, where it's already very moist, and it's been raining and storming there for the last week or so. So it's not looking good in terms of the flood situation. Now, we take a look at the forecast here, our potential cone, and we're looking at about a 40-mile-per-hour storm here as it approaches South Florida tomorrow into tomorrow evening. Moves out into the Gulf of Mexico Tuesday, maybe a 60-mile-per-hour storm at this point. 60-mile-per-hour storm at this point, and which would be a strong tropical storm, and then maybe even maintaining tropical storm strength by the time it reaches the Gulf Coast. Nonetheless, the impacts here along the Gulf Coast, as I mentioned, will be the flooding, rain, some wind to contend with as well, but I think the flooding is going to be the big threat. Tropical storm watches are up. 48 hours out from Morgan City, Louisiana, all the way to the Florida line. So right here, all along I-10, a lot of very low-lying areas in line for some very heavy rain, Nick.
Yeah, flooding, definitely a big potential from this storm. And one of those areas that could be affected is Naples, Florida. This is where you could get 1 to 2 inches of rain tomorrow and into tomorrow night, even into Tuesday afternoon. Still a few showers and thunderstorms. We've seen a little bit of lightning on the tower camera tonight. Not seeing any flashes right now. But nevertheless, you're going to see a whole lot more as we head through your day tomorrow. We've been talking about the low potential for real tropical storm force winds here into Florida tomorrow. Let's show you what kind of winds we're getting right now. 10, 15-mile-per-hour winds, gust up to 16 there around the northern Keys. But we will see the probability of a lot of effects from this storm. We can't rule out, some gusty winds. We can't rule out high surf, battering waves, coastal flooding, certainly rip currents. But even tropical storm force winds are a possibility as we head into tomorrow afternoon, right around the Keys, as we begin to see this storm strengthen. So tomorrow, look for lots of wet weather here around the Florida Peninsula, and then westward too on into the central Gulf Coast from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, to the Florida Panhandle. Miami's probably going to pick up 2 to 3 inches of rain tomorrow. High rip current, wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Similar here in Naples with a little bit less rain, still 1 to 2 inches, but we still could see the possibility of some of that coming down in a short amount of time and causing some flooding. Here are the kind of winds we're looking for. Wind gusts probably 20 to 25 miles per hour as we head through the day tomorrow. And of course, down into the Keys, we could even get more. So wind wind, not the biggest factor here. The rain is certainly going to be the big factor here, and we're talking about South Florida picking up 3 to 5 inches of rain, particularly around the Miami area and southward down toward the northern Keys, probably a little farther toward the north, 1 to 2 inches from Naples over toward West Palm Beach, and up to an inch there around Orlando. So stay with us. We'll continue to talk about all the impacts we expect to see from what very well could be Tropical Storm Gordon by tomorrow.
911 emergency.
My husband, he's having trouble breathing.
First responders hear it a lot. And everyone age 65 and older needs to hear it too. The flu and its complications can be deadly, especially for those with a chronic medical condition. That's why there are higher strength flu vaccines made for seniors. Ask your doctor or pharmacist for a senior flu shot. Do it today before the flu becomes an emergency.
911, she has the flu. Please hurry.
For those who thirst for more, Coors Light is colder, cleaner, and crisper to refresh you for what's next. Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
There's an opportunity in every window. A view connecting in here to an entire world of out there. So start your day opening the window to your weather with AMHQ. Watch Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno looking out at the stories and the science behind your forecast. Open up your mornings with AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
When a customer walks in here, you treat them like family. Because it's not a car, it's Melanie. And she's a single mom, and she's got 2 kids, and she puts her trust in me to fix her car. That's what it's all about. It's taking care of the customer. And there's only one way to do the job. It's the right way. My name is Alex, and I'm proud to keep your car running newer, longer.
Introducing the Triple Promise only at Firestone Complete Auto Care. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
A heat advisory is in effect. Currently in our area, 77 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, low 75. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 91. Monday night, mostly clear skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 78. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Look, isn't that Frank Thomas?
Oh, the big hurt.
More like the big hunk.
Yeah.
Wow, Frank Thomas.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. You look like you could still be playing. That's what I said.
Well, I am feeling stronger and leaner. So, Frank, what's your secret? I discovered Nugenics.
I wish my husband did.
It's easy. Just send a text.
If you're a guy over 40, text 369-369 and enter KNOCK to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Nugenics is a unique man-boosting formula powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help boost your free testosterone levels, to help you feel stronger, leaner, with more energy and drive, more passion, too.
Here, try a bottle. And trust me, she'll like it too.
Text 369-369 and enter KNOCK to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenics. Samples are not available in stores, so text 369-369 and enter KNOCK.
Tonight, we're right in the middle of a Labor Day weekend that is filled with tropical concerns. Mobile, Alabama, Biloxi, Mississippi, New Orleans, you're all on notice here.
That's right. Potential tropical cyclone 7 is on the move and could become a tropical storm before it makes landfall. The information you need to know to stay safe over the next 48 hours.
We're anxiously awaiting the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, so let's get over to our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. And with the latest information, at least we have some information before that comes in.
Yeah, you know, what's going on at the Hurricane Center over the last half hour is they're having to release 4 different advisory packages. You have 2 systems in the East Pacific, and you've got Florence and 7 on the Atlantic side. So they got a lot of work to do. They'll get it out on time, but the advisory could come out anytime between now and 11 p.m. Eastern. Of course, it's coming out right now because they knew I was standing here waiting for it. So, so you have all of our systems to deal with. I'm going to give you a rundown of everything that's new with all of these systems, and as our graphics update, we'll be able to bring that to you. So let's see if we've got the new advisory on 7. There it is. So it's still a potential tropical cyclone here at 11 p.m. Eastern Time advisory. Winds at 30 miles an hour. Pressure still not very low. That's another indication of how much more the system has to go before it becomes a depression or storm. That pressure is not particularly low and still moving west-northwest at 15 miles an hour, a little bit closer to the Florida Keys. So anyway, it's somewhere in here, southeast of the Florida Keys. And you've seen an increase in the thunderstorm activity over Andros Island in the central Bahamas, and you've got this band that's getting a little more active just offshore of South Florida. So we got a lot to concern ourselves with about this system, and the track forecast that we'll update here in a little bit shows the system becoming a tropical storm perhaps sometime by Monday evening. This is the new updated forecast track and intensity. So it's hard to pinpoint when the system will become a depression or storm, but within the next day, we're expecting it to become a storm, and that would be named Gordon. Then by Tuesday evening, it's getting very close to the northern Gulf Coast, but before the center of circulation makes landfall, you would have the arrival of tropical storm conditions. So that's why we're getting a little bit less than 2 days away now from that time of arrival of tropical storm conditions. That's why the watch went up at 5, and there's a decent chance that a tropical storm warning will go up sometime early in the day tomorrow. And then after landfall, then it slows down. And I'll again point out how much slower the forward speed is in the latter portion of this forecast. So here's Monday evening, Tuesday evening, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's all there in succession, not making much headway after coming ashore. So even though the wind speeds come down, so does the forward speed, and that makes the rainfall totals go up, and it makes the flash flood risk go up. So that's what we are really concerned about after landfall. So landfall will not be the end of the event by any stretch. For some of you, it'll be just the beginning. So again, zooming in on South Florida to give you an idea of what's going to happen here. Let's look at the radar, because this band on the north side is getting a little more active, as is a little bit of thunderstorm activity closer to the center of circulation near Andros Island. And this band has prompted a special marine warning for the possibility of gusts to tropical storm force, maybe even an isolated water spout. So that's a problem when you've got a system coming in from southeast to northwest over the Florida Straits. The Florida Peninsula can get isolated tornadoes, but this will be short-lived gusty winds. But then all day tomorrow, we've got the potential for flash flooding in South Florida. Flash flood watch for Broward, Miami-Dade, and Collier counties. Now, again, the other big problem here is the moisture content that is going to be associated with what will be Gordon, and that's going into an area that's already moist, where it's already been raining. We've already had flash flooding problems Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That becomes a big, big problem. So just to summarize what's come out here at 11 p.m. from the Hurricane Center, Hurricane Norman still a Cat 4, probably bend north of Hawaii. Florence still a tropical storm, but aiming in the direction of Bermuda. And Nick, we can't rule out it eventually getting to the U.S. So welcome to September. The tropics are busy.
I should say. Okay, thanks so much, Dr. Knapp. And as we've been telling you, it is a wet forecast for a lot of us, from Florida back toward the central Gulf Coast, and more rain headed your way. One of those areas that will see it is Naples, Florida. 1 to 2 inches tomorrow into Tuesday. Could see those wind gusts up to around 25 miles per hour. Stay out of the water. The rip current threat is going to be high. Naples, your forecast calls for those thunderstorms tomorrow, and then tapering off just a little bit as we head into Monday night, but still lingering well into Tuesday afternoon. Here's a look at Miami, where you're going to find more rainfall. We think 2 to 3 inches, another high rip current here, and wind gusts to 25. Your forecast calls for those thunderstorms to become a bit more spotty into tomorrow night, but certainly the possibility of more of that rainfall lasting on into Tuesday. So we'll continue to keep our eye on that area as well as this area through Wednesday as we see more of that rain move inland. Flooding is going to be a probability. Julie.
Well, one of the most dangerous parts of a tropical system is the storm surge. Carl Parker looks at the devastating high water effects.
When it comes to tropical systems, most people think of the wind first. Even look at the categories. The Saffir-Simpson scale is based on wind. But that's not the true measure of the strength of a storm and the number of fatalities it can cause. Roughly 90% of all deaths from a tropical cyclone are caused by water. These are the results of a study that looked at all Atlantic Basin systems that impacted the U.S. from 1963 to 2012. When you break it down further, storm surge is responsible for 49% of the deaths. Rainfall and flooding, 27%. In all, 1 out of every 5 or 6 Atlantic Basin cyclones caused loss of life. And in the 50 years of the study, about 2,500 people were killed. So heed the warnings from emergency managers when you are asked to evacuate, and have a plan.
So storm surge, obviously, a big concern in any landfalling hurricane or even tropical storm. And one thing that is new here at the 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Central Time advisory from the National Hurricane Center is that they have coordinated with the local National Weather Service forecast offices. And this looks like primarily they're talking to the New Orleans Slidell office that's responsible for southeast Louisiana and Mississippi coastline. And they've issued a storm surge watch. So this is another benefit of having the ability for them to write advisories on a potential tropical cyclone. It's not a depression or a storm yet, but it's already time for watches and warnings, at least watches. So we had the tropical storm watch come out at 5 p.m. Now we've got the storm surge watch for the possibility of life-threatening storm surge. So you're going to want to start listening to your local officials in Louisiana and Mississippi. More on where the storm surge could occur, where the rainfall could occur. Stay with us.
The weather and the case were actually paralleling each other. Without the weather conditions, there would be no conviction in this case.
When you carry out large 3-topping pizzas from Domino's for $7.99 each, you don't want bad roads ruining your good pizza. So we're doing something about them. If your drive home is rough on pizza, submit it at havenforpizza.com and we might fix it.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy children's Claritin Allergy Relief, the #1 pediatrician recommended non-drowsy brand. Because to a kid, a grassy hill is irresistible. Children's Claritin. Feel the clarity and live Claritin Clear.
So you'll be here to help protect my car?
State Farm will be here.
Okay. What about here?
Yep. Nice. My screen didn't crack.
Thank goodness. What about...
Obviously.
Here?
I don't think so.
That makes sense.
What about here?
Here too.
Awesome.
That wasn't my fault.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
Tropical storm watch out along the Gulf Coast tonight, and this includes New Orleans, all of Mississippi's coastline, Alabama's coastline as well. It's all because of our potential tropical cyclone number 7, which very well could be a tropical storm by tomorrow. This is special live coverage tonight tracking this growing tropical threat. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Nick Walker.
And I'm meteorologist Julie Martin. Tropical storm force wind gusts likely over the next 48 hours, and 8 inches of rain is also possible. Here are some of the cities we're concerned about. New Orleans and Gulfport. Winds over 50 miles an hour. Heavy rain are the biggest concerns there. And the same thing for places like Key West and Naples.
So we're looking at all these areas and many more, and we want to get the latest from our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. And we just have new advisories out not long ago on all our tropical systems, and some new information on the one that we're watching most closely.
Yeah, they're starting to get a little more specific on what kinds of hazards we could experience along the northern Gulf Coast, both wind and water. So the big headline here is that it is now that we have a storm surge watch for portions of southeast Louisiana and Mississippi coastline. I'll show you where that is in a moment. The other headline is it's still a potential tropical cyclone number 7. Not yet tropical depression number 7, not yet tropical storm Gordon, but it is still anticipated that it will become a depression very soon and then a tropical storm sometime on Monday. And if not then, by Tuesday. It's expected to become a tropical storm over the Gulf of Mexico next day or two. It's still centered, such as it is, not a well-defined center yet. Thunderstorm activity not incredibly well organized yet, but the center of it is north of Cuba, southeast of the Florida Keys. And the thunderstorm activity is starting to ramp up a little bit here and there over Andros Island and in this band to the north of the center. It's still moving west-northwest at 15 miles an hour. So that means the center of it, however well defined it is or isn't tomorrow, will be passing over the Florida Straits tomorrow and then into the Gulf of Mexico by tomorrow night. Still giving it an 80% chance of becoming a depression or storm over the next 2 days, but let's just assume it will. The chances are that high. And here's the new forecast track and intensity: tropical storm over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico, and then a strengthening tropical storm as it approaches the northern Gulf Coast on Tuesday night. The farther west it goes, the longer it would take for the center to come ashore, but count on later in the day Tuesday for the tropical storm force winds to start arriving, and then it's slowing down inland. That creates the big flash flood concern. So here is the new storm surge watch. Now again, why are there separate storm surge watches and tropical storm or hurricane watches? That's because the wind and the water hazards don't always occur in the same places or at the same times. And what you do in response to the wind threat is different than what you do from the storm surge threat. Wind, you take shelter out of flood-prone areas. And for storm surge, you might need to evacuate. So this is now the area where you need to start listening to your local officials, where there is the possibility of life-threatening storm surge along the Mississippi coastline and portions of southeastern Louisiana. The call to action is to evacuate as instructed by local officials. This is just for the possibility of life-threatening storm surge. Storm surge, of course, historically the most deadly hazard of all in landfalling tropical systems, and it doesn't have to be a hurricane for the northern Gulf Coast to get storm surge. We also still have the tropical storm watch from the Florida-Alabama line around to Morgan City, including New Orleans and Lake Pontchartrain. And in the meantime, Florida is going to be dealing with heavy rain tonight and into tomorrow. There's already a special marine warning. Strong winds gusting to tropical storm force, maybe an isolated water spout in this band that's just offshore. Maybe it's weakening a little bit, but it'll be your first bout of rain before you deal with a day of very heavy rainfall and flood potential, Nick. Flash flood watch all day tomorrow for Broward, Miami-Dade, and Collier counties. And then, of course, as you're going to talk about, we could see some flash flood watches and warnings in Louisiana, Texas, and thereabouts later in the week, as we've already seen today.
Yeah, a huge area that we're watching for that potential of flooding. And we're talking about Florida initially with seeing that heavy rainfall, particularly in South Florida, and then eventually a little farther toward the west, back toward areas of the central Gulf Coast. So that will be on Tuesday when we begin to see that threat, and that threat really isn't going to go away for a few days. We're going to be dealing with this really all the way into the end of next week. So the rain to come tomorrow here in Florida is probably going to be in that 3 to 5 inch range south of Miami, areas around the northern Keys. A little bit closer view shows the 2 and 3 inches there south of Miami we could get, but as much as 2 inches possible there around Miami itself. Seeing the rain taper off just a little bit here around the Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama coastlines, but boy, I tell you what, it's already been saturated. It's already been inundated with rain, and we're going to see more of that as we see this potential tropical storm make its way inland as we head into your rain event here. Water could inundate many of the roadways, even some major roadways. So remember, turn around, don't drown. Find another way around all of those water-covered roadways because there's likely to be several. So there's the rain that's continuing to fall in the area right now. More where that came from as we head into your midweek. Lots of things to watch. Make sure you have your plan ready to put into action just as soon as it is needed, whether that's to evacuate or just hunker down. But but certainly getting away from water-covered roadways and any kind of rising water. Julie, let's talk about what else is to come.
Well, specific cities certainly going to be feeling these impacts. Miami is one of them. Starting tomorrow, 15 to 25 mile per hour gusts, 2 to 3 inches of rain, and a high risk of rip currents for you in South Florida. So not a good day to get in the water. Monday night, that's your timing here in Miami. Tuesday, not out of the question. We could still see some morning showers and thunderstorms. The system moves into the Gulf at that point, and then we're talking about widespread rain here, very likely across several Gulf Coast states, all the way from Florida to Texas. So looking at the possibility of very heavy rainfall and flood conditions, as we've been talking about. Here in Biloxi right now, relatively quiet. We did have some storms roll through earlier this evening. Taking a live look there at US 90 there in Biloxi. But again, this is one of those areas we'll have to watch. Very low-lying area. Not a lot of places for the water to really go, considering it has been raining in these same places, so the ground is already saturated. Here in Biloxi, Tuesday night into Wednesday, likely going to be your go time for this system. Mobile, Alabama, the same thing goes for you. Tuesday night into Wednesday, very likely to see those impacts arriving. And then the rain continuing to fall beyond that as well as the system moves inland. In New Orleans, we'll see things start to get going Tuesday also, and then some hit or miss storms still lasting in through even Wednesday, maybe Thursday of the week. So it's really going to pile up, and unfortunately, we're talking about widespread areas all the way from Florida up into the Gulf Coast, Nick. So the flood threat is certainly there. And we're going to continue to follow this system for you right after this quick commercial break.
Psoriatic arthritis tries to get in my way. Watch me.
I've tried lots of things for my joint pain. Now, watch me.
Think I'd give up showing these guys how it's done? Please.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis are changing the way they fight it. They're moving forward with Cosentyx. It's a different kind of targeted biologic. It's proven to help people find less joint pain and clearer skin. Don't use if you are allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms of an infection, or if you have received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
With less joint pain, watch me.
For less joint pain and clearer skin, ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Michelin Premier. Safe when new, safe when worn.
Heartburn and gas? Now, fight both fast. New Tums Chewy Bites with Gas Relief. All-in-one relief of heartburn and gas. New Tums Chewy Bites with Gas Relief.
Lower carbs. Lower calories. Higher expectations. The light beer you've been waiting for has arrived. Corona Premier.
I got a certain way I like to do things. I like Consumer Cellular. I get unlimited talk and text for just $25 a month. They received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service again.
And Consumer Cellular has been an approved AARP provider since 2008, so we trust them. Reliable nationwide coverage for way less money? That's the way.
We like it.
Switch today and get your first month of service free. Call, go online, or find us at Target.
Daily Dollar deals are here at Long John Silver's, where you can get a different deal every day. Like sliders, Baja fish tacos, and popcorn shrimp. Popcorn chicken, crab cakes, and sweets. All for just $1 each. Only at Long John Silver's.
Mommy, we made you Princess Toast!
Oh! I have no idea what's in Princess Toast, but thanks to this USP seal, I know exactly what's in my Nature Made gummies.
Nature Made has the first gummies verified by USP, a nonprofit organization that sets purity and potency standards.
To get the most out of your mornings, you need to know what weather is heading your way. America's Morning Headquarters has you covered.
We've already got some rain out there this morning.
So start every day with the best in weather. Join Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno. Weekday mornings starting at 5 for AMHQ. on the Weather Channel.
The weather and the case were actually paralleling each other. Without the weather conditions, there would be no conviction in this case.
We're continuing to follow the potential tropical development here of Cyclone 7 and looking at that, but also looking at what else is going on in the tropics. We've got Tropical Storm Florence here off the coast of Africa, also another area to watch. The tropics really lighting up, big difference over the past week or so. And then in the Pacific, we have Hurricane Norman out to sea as well as Olivia. But this is the one we're going to focus on. This is potential Tropical Cyclone 7. We've been telling you about this now during our special broadcast here for the last few hours. This looks very likely that this will become a depression or a tropical storm within the next 24 to 48 hours. Heavy rains first going to start impacting South Florida tomorrow. That includes you in Miami, and tropical storm conditions possible for the Central Gulf once this thing gets out into the Gulf of Mexico. We're looking at Tuesday night into Wednesday, those impacts headed your way. So right now it's not changed a whole lot with the latest advisory that just came out from the National Hurricane Center. The winds are still at 30 miles per hour. It's moving to the west-northwest at 15. It's located right about in here. Now by tomorrow we fully expect it to be much closer to Florida and then pass into the Gulf of Mexico. An 80% chance of development, as I mentioned, into a tropical entity. So that's a very high chance and a very good chance that this will happen. Right now, not so organized, but we do have, as you can see here, just plenty of moisture showing up, not only here, but in the Gulf as well, which is concerning when it comes to flooding, because any more that it's going to be coming in with this is just not going to be good news. So this is what we can expect. Our cone here taking the storm to the west of Key West on Monday evening, about 40 miles per hour at that point, likely strengthening once it gets out into the open Gulf, maybe to a 60 mile per hour tropical storm, and then approaching maybe tropical storm status, or maintaining it almost, at least, by the time it makes its way to the Gulf Coast. But one thing we are pretty confident about is the fact that this is going to bring a lot of rain here to the Gulf Coast states, and the potential for life-threatening flooding as well. Tropical storm watch is up here in yellow all the way from Morgan City, Louisiana to the Alabama-Florida line. So all along I-10 here, almost to Texas, we're talking about impacts from what could become Tropical Storm Gordon. That would be our next named storm, Nick. And at this point, it looks likely that we could see that within the next 2 days.
And Florida likely to be the first.
And let's check out Naples, Florida right now. We do have of course, the possibility of Naples being impacted as early as tomorrow. We're talking about gusty winds, heavy rain, and really strong rip currents as well. So a very bad time to want to get out in the beach areas.
Yeah, it really is going to be. And unfortunately, the timing is terrible with the Labor Day holiday. A lot of folks want to get their beach time. Not going to get much tomorrow. Wind is really not going to be the culprit here. We will see some gusty winds. As you can see, it's not a factor right now. 5 to 10 miles per hour for the most part, maybe up to 15. But of course, we can't rule out the possibility of some gusty winds. And of course, the wind over the water really whipping up those waves, high surf, coastal flooding, not outside the realm of possibility. And rip currents, I think that's just a given that we're going to see that. Could see some tropical storm force winds as we see this storm move over the Keys tomorrow. But then the winds will increase as it heads on toward areas back here into the central Gulf Coast. Of course, that's going to be where we're going to see the heaviest rainfall. We've already gotten inundated with rainfall there. Miami, 2 to 3 inches is what we're planning on. Wind gusts up to 25. And again, the rip current threat's going to be really high here.
If it feels like you live in the bathroom with recurring constipation and belly pain, talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Yes, Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. Linzess can help relieve your belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements. Linzess is not a laxative. It helps you get ahead of your recurring constipation. Do not give Linzess to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. So say yes to help for recurring constipation, yes to help for belly pain. Talk to your doctor and say yes, Linzess.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy children's Claritin Allergy Relief, the #1 pediatrician recommended non-drowsy brand. Because to a kid, a grassy hill is irresistible. Children's Claritin. Feel the clarity and live Claritin Clear.
Insurance that won't replace the full value of your new car? You're better off throwing your money right into the harbor. Gonna regret that.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car.
Liberty, 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 liberty. To get the most out of your mornings, you need to know what weather is heading your way. America's Morning Headquarters has you covered.
We've already got some rain out there this morning.
So start every day with the best in weather. Join Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno. Weekday mornings starting at 5 for AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
Hey, be good, kiddo. I gotta go to work. I love you. Bye.
Dog home alone all day? Who knows what they'll get into? A day without a walk is a sad day for your dog. But now you can make your dog's day with WAG, the on-demand dog walking app. Get a WAG-certified walker to walk your dog at a moment's notice. WAG walks are insured and bonded. And WAG walkers are vetted, experienced dog handlers who'll give your dog the affection and attention they deserve. WAG has live GPS tracking and will even tell you where your dog marks its territory.
My dog pooped.
WAG, the #1 on-demand dog walking app. Get your first walk free when you download the app now.
The weather and the case were actually paralleling each other. Without the weather conditions, there would be no conviction in this case.
A heat advisory is in effect. Currently in our area, 77 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, low 75. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 91. Monday night, mostly clear skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 78. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Tonight we are in the midst of our Labor Day festivities, and you know, we're filled with tropical concerns in many areas tonight. Places like Mobile, Alabama, Biloxi, Mississippi, New Orleans, you're all on notice.
Potential tropical cyclone 7 is on the move and could become a tropical storm before it makes landfall. The information you need to know to stay safe over the next 48 hours.
So let's head right over to our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb, and talk about the potential for, well, a tropical storm, a named storm by tomorrow.
Yeah, and then it will be strengthening on Monday night into Tuesday night, and it's later in the day Tuesday when tropical storm conditions are anticipated to reach the northern Gulf Coast. So we are in the time frame where watches are up. We got a tropical storm watch. We have a storm surge watch. South Florida has a flash flood watch for tomorrow. So a lot of different wind and water hazards to contend with something that is not yet a depression or storm, but because it is anticipated to form pretty much right in our front yard here in the Gulf of Mexico, right, and then come ashore relatively quickly, this is not the kind of situation where you see the storm or hurricane coming for days and days and days. It's forming within that 2-day time frame when watches have to go up. And then it will be sometime tomorrow when warnings start to go up for the northern Gulf Coast. So this is not going to be a long time to prepare. In fact, Monday is going to be one of the most important days for preparation on the northern Gulf Coast. But Monday is going to be the worst weather day for southern Florida, as this system that is trying to get its act together, centered southeast of the Florida Keys, north of the coast of Cuba, moves west-northwestward across the Florida Straits tonight, early tomorrow, and then gets into the Gulf of Mexico during the day on Monday. So the winds are at 30 miles an hour, and because it's gradually getting better organized, Hurricane Center giving it a high chance of becoming a depression or storm and issuing this 5-day track and intensity forecast along with the watches that I'll show on the northern Gulf Coast. So here's the intensifying tropical storm, 40 miles an hour Monday evening, 60 miles an hour on Tuesday. Of course, we can't know exactly what intensity it will be at every point along the way, but you get the idea. A strengthening tropical storm that late on Tuesday will make landfall, maybe early Wednesday if it goes farther west. And tropical storm conditions will arrive before the center comes ashore. So earlier in the day you can get things done on Tuesday, the better off you're going to be on the northern Gulf Coast. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, really slow motion as it weakens inland. We could have a big inland flood problem. Now, these are new numbers issued by the Hurricane Center with their 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central advisory on how much storm surge flooding above normally dry ground could occur. Tide is included in this, and you know, it's hard to pinpoint the timing of the surge and the tide, but you know, the maximum storm surge flooding would occur to the right of where the center comes ashore and would be maximized if high tide occurs at the same time. But the area of greatest concern would be the Mississippi coastline and southeast Louisiana down to the Mississippi River. It does not include the city of New Orleans, Nick, and so these are the areas under a storm surge watch. Mississippi Gulf Coast last year got some storm surge flooding from not a major hurricane. So the northern Gulf Coast, very vulnerable to storm surge, and then the inland areas very vulnerable to flash flooding. So water, water, water is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, let's don't discount this one for sure. Thanks so much, Rick. And we're looking at more of that water coming into places like Florida tomorrow, overnight tonight and into tomorrow. And then, of course, by Tuesday, we're going to see more of it back toward the central Gulf Coast. Let's sort of try to time out a few areas. Naples, Florida, looking for tomorrow to be the big day here for the rain, 1 to 2 inches, and the wind gusts probably peaking at about 25 miles per hour tomorrow. Rip current threat is going to be high here. Don't go in the water. You're going to see that rainfall, though, continue, that thunderstorm threat continue into tomorrow night, and really not letting up much until we get on into Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. So still more rain to come. Miami, you're going to be in that 2 to 3 inch range as far as the rainfall is concerned. Probably south of you, we're going to pick up a little bit more. 15 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts and a high rip current threat. Tuesday morning, we're going to see those thunderstorms last until then, maybe a little off and on by the time we get into tomorrow night. But then we're looking at areas back toward the central Gulf Coast where the rain is really going to pick up. And we're going to see places like Biloxi and Mobile. See those thunderstorms all the way through your Wednesday and into Wednesday night. More on our continuing coverage until midnight tonight.
It's where a cowgirl can meet 480 horses. Where a Labradoodle owner can meet their next hybrid. Where the crew can meet its third row. And where a soccer mom can meet her MVP. Yeah. Over 500 million connections made. Find the car you'll love. We met on Cars.com.
Well, here's to first dates. You look amazing.
And you look amazingly comfortable.
When your V-neck looks more like a U-neck, that's when you know it's half-washed. Add Downy to keep your collars from stretching. Unlike detergent alone, Downy conditions to smooth and strengthen fibers. So next time, don't half-wash it. Downy, and it's done.
This is my doctor. This is my grocer. These are my back roads. Those are my heroes. That was my high school. And this is my privilege.
Since 2005, DISH and our partners have helped bring emergency communications access to disaster areas across the country, so families, friends, and first responders can organize, mobilize, and connect.
Coffee Mate. It's no ordinary creamer. Coffee Mate is triple churned and 2 times richer than milk. It makes a simple cup of coffee perfect. Coffee Mate. Stir things up.
Bear presents Ordinary versus Overachiever. A lot of paints say they can do the job, but just one can bear through it all. Bear Premium Plus, a top-rated interior paint at a great price. Family-friendly, disaster-proof. Right now, get incredible savings on Bear paints, stains, and primers, exclusively at the Home Depot.
People everywhere are confusing Quilted Northern for a bouncy castle. They're both durable, flexible, and nice to have at parties. But Quilted Northern is not a bouncy castle. It's just really nice toilet paper.
When a customer walks in here, you treat them like family. Because it's not a car, it's Melanie. And she's a single mom, and she's got 2 kids, and she puts her trust in me to fix her car. That's what it's all about. It's taking care of the customer. And there's only one way to do the job. It's the right way. My name is Alex, and I'm proud to keep your car running newer, longer.
Introducing the Triple Promise only at Firestone Complete Auto Care. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Daily dollar deals are here at Long John Silver's, where you can get a different deal every day. Like sliders, Baja fish tacos, and popcorn shrimp. Popcorn chicken, crab cakes, and sweets. All for just $1 each. Only at Long John Silver's.
Mommy, we made you Princess Toast!
Oh! I have no idea what's in Princess Toast, but thanks to this USP seal, I know exactly what's in my Nature Made gummies.
Nature Made has the first gummies verified by USP, a nonprofit organization that sets purity and potency standards.
To get the most out of your mornings, you need to know what weather is heading your way. America's Morning Headquarters has you covered.
We've already got some rain out there this morning.
So start every day with the best in weather. Join Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno. Weekday mornings starting at 5 for AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
We've got a tropical storm watch out along the Gulf Coast tonight. This includes New Orleans. It also includes the Mississippi and Alabama coastlines. And it's all from our potential tropical cyclone number 7, which actually could be Tropical Storm Gordon sometime tomorrow. You're watching special live coverage tonight, tracking this growing tropical threat. I'm meteorologist Nick Walker.
And I'm meteorologist Julie Martin. Tropical storm force wind gusts likely over the next 48 hours and 8 inches of rain also possible. Here are some of the cities we're concerned about. New Orleans and Gulfport, winds over 50 miles an hour and heavy rain are the biggest concerns. Same thing goes for Key West and Naples and plenty of other places.
So we want to get you the latest now with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. And Dr. Knabb, whenever you have a system that is moving into the Gulf of Mexico, there's so many areas that can be affected in so many ways.
Yeah, once it's in the Gulf, it's going to hit somebody unless it falls apart, and we don't see that happening. In fact, quite the opposite. We see this thing forming into a depression and then tropical storm over the next day to day and a half over the southeastern Gulf, and then strengthening and making landfall in the Tuesday night to Wednesday morning time frame. But conditions will start to go downhill on the northern Gulf Coast as the day goes on Tuesday, and they're going downhill tonight in southern Florida and the Florida Keys. Not expecting tropical storm conditions here. Maybe some gusts to tropical storm force in some of these bands and squalls, but main problem is going to be heavy rain and the onshore flow causing rip current problem. So the surface trough, such as it is, we don't really think we have a closed circulation at the surface yet, and not quite enough of thunderstorm activity that's organized to classify this as a tropical depression yet. But when it does become a depression, it'll simply change its name to Tropical Depression number 7. 80% chance of this becoming depression or storm in the next couple of days. So we are anticipating that to happen, and so there's a 5-day track and intensity forecast from the Hurricane Center I'll show you in just a moment. Here's a longer loop of the infrared imagery, and I want to switch over to the radar because what it does show, just like the satellite, is an outer band, a squall that prompted a special marine warning for the possibility of tropical storm force gusts, maybe even an isolated waterspout. To the right of the circulation is where we could get some isolated tornadoes over the Florida Peninsula tomorrow. But this is going to bring some locally heavy rainfall to the greater Miami-Fort Lauderdale area over the next couple of hours. So quick downpours of rain, then it'll be gone, but then later on you'll get more. And then tomorrow, you're probably going to get a lot more. 2 to 4 inches. General rainfall expected, maybe isolated amounts up to 6 or 8 inches. Could get ponding on the roadways, flooded underpasses, flooded roads, canals rising, and in the most vulnerable locations, there could get water into some structures. So this is from Broward, Miami-Dade, Collier counties. And as the system moves into the Gulf of Mexico, the waters are warm. The wind shear looks to be weak enough to allow for strengthening, and enough strengthening that we've got all the hazards in play in the northern Gulf Coast and inland areas as it slows down. We've got the water hazards, heavy rainfall and flooding, and then storm surge in the coastal areas. I'll show you where in just a moment. And then the wind from a tropical storm. Don't discount that either, at least for the possibility of power outages. So let's talk about the salt water. Storm surge could be 2 to 4 feet. Storm surge flooding 2 to 4 feet above normally dry ground in the coastal areas here of Mississippi and extreme southeastern Louisiana, all the way down to the mouth of Mississippi. This does not include Greater New Orleans. You have that hurricane risk reduction system that's built post-Katrina that should be able to handle keeping the storm surge out for the most part in this particular scenario. And outside of those areas, 1 to 2 feet for the whole coast of Louisiana and for the coast of Alabama, Mobile Bay, and over in the Florida Panhandle all the way to Destin. So it's in that 2 to 4 foot area, which includes tide, by the way. This is total flooding above normally dry ground, where it could be life-threatening. About 3 feet is where storm surge we deem to get life-threatening. So storm surge watch. You need to talk to your local officials, see if they're issuing any evacuation instructions. But you'll notice the storm surge watch not in the same exact place as the tropical storm watch, which goes which goes a little farther to the east and a little farther to the west and farther inland. So Nick, this is why there are separate storm surge watches and separate tropical storm watches, because the hazards don't occur at the same places. Yeah. And what you do is different. You evacuate from surge if told, and you shelter from wind, and then when it comes to flash flooding, stay off the roads.
That's great advice. You're just going to have to do that over a widespread area here in the days to come. Tomorrow in Florida, particularly South Florida, and then into Tuesday and Wednesday in the central Gulf Coast, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. Here's the forecast for tomorrow. Thunderstorms producing some heavy rain at times. And we're going to see that possibility of some heavy rain even farther toward the north in Florida, though the heaviest and prolonged amounts are going to be down toward the south. But then on into Tuesday, we'll be watching the central Gulf Coast for that rain to really begin to, I started to say begin to saturate the area. It's already saturated. We've had rains and thunderstorms that have already put so much water in the ground, and a lot of that is just going to have to run off. It's not going to have anywhere else to go. So there's the forecast for rain tomorrow here on into Tuesday afternoon and Tuesday evening for Florida. The greatest amounts will be right here around Miami and southward, 2 to 3 inches of rain, we think, during that time frame. Then the rain, which has been coming down here around Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, beginning to taper off a little bit tonight, but only on the increase as we head into Tuesday and into Wednesday. And then as the storm slows down and moves inland, then that flood threat continues even farther toward the north. Julie?
All right, we want to timing now as well. And for you in Miami, it's going to be pretty soon. Tomorrow, you're going to start to feel these impacts, 15 to 25 mile per hour gusts, 2 to 3 inches of rain to come for you, and a high rip current threat. So starting tomorrow into tomorrow evening, that's when we're going to start to see things going, perhaps even a little earlier if some of those outer squalls reach you. And then lasting in through perhaps Tuesday. Scattered storms all along the Florida coast, and then into the Gulf of Mexico we go, where we're looking at by Tuesday into Wednesday, certainly widespread rain here from the system and some of those threats on the increase. Right now, quiet conditions here in Biloxi, Mississippi, although we did have some storms roll through earlier this evening. We also saw some lightning on this shot as well. but this is one of those places that we're going to be definitely dealing with rain here over the next couple of days. Tuesday night into Wednesday for you as this system reaches the Gulf Coast, and then maybe even lasting beyond that as it continues to move inland. Mobile, Alabama, another place going to be feeling the impacts here Tuesday evening into Wednesday. And we're talking about flooding rain here being a real possibility, Nick, and that is not good news. So, you know, we keep stressing it, and people, you know, just even if this doesn't become a tropical storm, which we think it probably will, the flooding is going to be there.
Whether or not, no matter what we call it, the flooding is going to be there. And we may see a repeat of this that we saw Thursday here in New Orleans. Look at that rain coming down. And what's more, look at the effects on the roads. Oh, boy. We could continue to see roads inundated with water, and maybe even water that could go higher than this if we get too much rain all at once. Let me show you the kind of rainfall amounts we're expecting from this. 3-4 inches of rain here along the Mississippi and Louisiana coastline. Even farther toward the north of Lake Pontchartrain, we could be in that 2 to 3 inch range too. So we know that New Orleans has a tendency to flood simply because most of the city is below sea level. You know, it's sort of down there in that bowl, and so you need pumps to pump the water out. And so as they do, they're pretty good about pumping at least an inch of rainfall during the first hour of rain. We get rain continuing on top of that, though, and then we might get into trouble. Then after about the first hour, it can remove a ½ an inch per hour up to 5 inches. So we're going to be watching for the potential of flooding if we get rain that falls more than that, you know, more than an inch an hour, 2 inches in a couple of hours. So a lot of things to watch here in the coming days, and of course we'll continue to do that. Julie?
Take another look right now what we know about potential tropical cyclone 7. Right now winds at 30. We've got it moving to the west-northwest at 15. So in this general direction heading towards South Florida as we speak, and an 80% chance of development by the National Hurricane Center that this will become either a tropical depression or a tropical storm. We do believe that once it hits the Gulf of Mexico, it could certainly increase in intensity and become a tropical storm within the next couple of days, and then approach the Gulf Coast, bringing lots of rain and some wind and maybe even some storm surge along with that. So very difficult conditions here for many of you over the next couple of days. Storm surge watch is up here for those southern parishes of Louisiana, stretching all the way over to, say, Gulfport and the Alabama line. Tropical storm watch up here in yellow from Morgan City, Louisiana, all the way over to Florida. We'll be back with more on this system.
Ew. Don't drink bitter, drink better. New Natural Bliss Cold Brew. Expertly crafted with 100% Arabica beans that slow steep for 12 long hours, leaving you with a smooth, never bitter taste. Introducing new Natural Bliss Cold Brew coffee. Stir things up.
How do you know you made the right call? You just do. The light beer you've been waiting for has arrived. Lower carbs, lower calories, higher expectations. Corona Premier.
Here we go. Discover. I like your card, but I'm absolutely not paying an annual fee.
Discover has no annual fees.
Really? Yeah.
We just don't believe in them.
Oh, nice. You would not believe how long I've been rehearsing that.
No annual fee on any card, only from Discover.
You wouldn't accept an incomplete job from anyone else. Why accept it from your allergy pills? Flonase Sensimist relieves your worst symptoms, including nasal congestion, which most pills don't. It helps block 6 key inflammatory substances. Most pills block 1. Flonase Sensimist.
We give every Honda ATV and side-by-side the technology you need to seize the day. Class-leading technology like automatic dual-clutch transmission. Exclusive to Honda, the DCT lets you ride in automatic mode or manual mode, so you get sporty off-road performance and workhorse muscle all in one. And now you can seize the day and seize the deals with factory-to-dealer incentives on the Honda ATV or Pioneer side-by-side you've been waiting for. It's all happening at the Honda 4-Wheel Clearance Event, going on now.
My Pacifica hybrid minivan is so quiet, I could finally hear myself think.
Where could I go with a 566-mile driving range? Why aren't shorts half the price of pants? Can vegetarians still eat animal crackers? Another Pacifica. Safe choice, my friend.
That's Catherine Hahn in a Pacifica hybrid. I bet she's all super green and healthy.
Best burger ever.
I love my grandma.
As you grow older, your brain naturally begins to change, which may cause trouble with recall.
Learning from him is great when I can keep up.
Thankfully, Prevagen helps your brain and improves memory.
Dad's got all the answers.
Prevagen is now the #1 selling brain health supplement in drugstores nationwide.
She outsmarts me every single time.
Checkmate. You want to play again?
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
Flintstones, meet the Flintstones. They're the modern Stoic family. From the town of Fairfield. Meet George Jetson. His boy Elroy.
With instant acceleration, electric cars are more fun to drive and more affordable than ever. Electric cars are here. Plug in to the present.
Welcome back to the Weather Channel as we continue our coverage of potential tropical cyclone 7 and taking a look at the tropics. The big picture here, a very active scene. We've got two systems off the coast of Africa, one of them tropical storm Florence, and the jury's still out a little bit as to whether or not this will reach the United States. But potential tropical cyclone 7, we believe, will. And there's about an 80% chance of development now for this to become a tropical storm or a tropical depression within the next couple of days. In the Pacific, we have tropical storm Olivia and Hurricane Norman as well, hard at work. So taking a look at what we're watching with 7 here, we do expect a tropical depression or storm will form very likely in the eastern Gulf by about Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow or Tuesday. Heavy rain first impacting South Florida as early as tomorrow, and tropical storm conditions possible in the central Gulf Coast by the time we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Very heavy rain associated with that. Right now the wind's at 30 miles per hour. It's moving to the west-northwest at 15, still very unorganized, but in this general vicinity right about in here. And we do expect it again to reach probably the Florida Straits by tomorrow and then enter the Gulf of Mexico, where we could see it intensify and certainly become a tropical storm. So 80% chance of development, and that's the official issue from the National Hurricane Center in Miami as well. So taking a look at it, as I mentioned on the satellite, not real organized right now, but we take a look at the Gulf of Mexico, and you'll notice plenty of green showing up there, so plenty of moisture already in place there in the Gulf, and not really anything that's going to be slowing this down all that much once it does enter the Gulf of Mexico. This is our cone that we're expecting for the storm to be maybe a 40-mile-per-hour storm as it approaches South Florida tomorrow evening. Getting into the Gulf, perhaps intensifying to a stronger tropical storm, maybe a 60-mile-per-hour storm, and then as it approaches the Gulf Coast, maybe still maintaining near tropical storm force winds, but the winds aren't going to be the big problem with this system. It will be the rain and flooding likely to come. Tropical storm watch is up here from Morgan City, Louisiana, all the way over to the Alabama-Florida line. So a very large, low-lying area here, this part of the country, right along I-10. This area, no stranger to tropical systems, deal with them all the time, and unfortunately, we're looking at what could be another case of that. But first things first, we're going to get things started here in South Florida tomorrow with the showers and storms from this system before it does enter the Gulf of Mexico, and eventually, by as early as Tuesday into Wednesday, make its way into the Gulf Coast, Nick.
Let's talk a little bit more about the winds, because we mentioned that they probably won't be as big of a factor as the rain. Rain's certainly going to be a factor here in Naples, Florida. We've already seen some thunderstorms roll through. Thunderstorms are beginning to roll through the Miami area, and in those storms, we've seen some wind gusts begin to kick up now. We've had 17-mile-per-hour sustained winds, wind gusts in Miami now up to around 26 miles per hour as those thunderstorms come through. But there could be more where that came from. I mean, we're talking about wind that could reach tropical storm force gusts as we head through your day tomorrow. We might even see that around the Florida Keys. Certainly going to find the wind over the water that's going to kick the surf up and bring that onshore flow with the rip currents. That's going to be a big problem. And then the rain. The rain is really going to be the big factor here tomorrow, as well as we get into Tuesday, not only for Florida, but eventually more so here back toward the central Gulf Coast, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Miami probably going to find that 2 to 3 inch range of rainfall tomorrow on into Tuesday morning. The rip current threat remaining high and 15 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts. Naples, a little bit less in the rain department, but equal as far as the winds are concerned, and the rip currents are going to keep you out of the water, or at least they should. Here's the kind of forecast winds we're looking at for tomorrow as we get through the day. Winds gusting in that 20 to 25 mile per hour range, some higher gusts with some of the squalls, or as the center of what could be Tropical Storm Gordon gets close to southern Florida, but then probably really strengthening as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. And we'll see that rain on the increase, not only in Florida, but elsewhere around the Gulf Coast as well. Keep it here.
Even the most conscientious parents can be distracted. Here are some tips to protect kids in hot vehicles. Put your purse or backpack in the back seat to ensure you look back. Place a visual reminder in the front seat that you have a child in the car. Look before you lock. Make it a habit. If you see a child unattended and can't locate the driver, call 911. If the child is unresponsive, do whatever it takes to get them out safely, including breaking a window. Look before you lock.
I don't feel hungry. I don't feel stuffed.
I don't feel guilty. I still look buff. Fresh flavor, feel-good food. Sabra hummus, the unofficial meal.
I just had Sabra hummus and now I feel good.
There's an opportunity in every window. A view connecting in here to an entire world of out there. So start your day opening the window to your weather with AMHQ. Watch Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, and Jen Carfagno looking out at the stories and the science behind your forecast. Open up your mornings with AMHQ on the Weather Channel.
Brand new day is at my feet. And I'm singing low, and sweet.
This is a beer inspired by nature, made with organic grains and sourced from the finest farms. Michelob Ultra Pure Gold. A beer like no other, with a pure, refreshing taste.
A heat advisory is in effect. Currently in our area, 77 degrees under partly cloudy skies. Tonight, some clouds, low 75. Monday, intervals of clouds and sunshine. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 91. Monday night, mostly clear skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 78. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Look, isn't that Frank Thomas?
Oh, the big hurt.
More like the big hunk.
Yeah.
Wow, Frank Thomas.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. You look like you could still be playing. That's what I said.
Well, I am feeling stronger and leaner. So, Frank, what's your secret? I discovered Nugenics.
I wish my husband did.
It's easy. Just send a text.
If you're a guy over 40, text 369-369 and enter KNOCK to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Nugenix is a unique man-boosting formula powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help boost your free testosterone levels, to help you feel stronger, leaner, with more energy and drive, more passion too.
Here, try a bottle. And trust me, she'll like it too.
Text 369-369 and enter KNOCK to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix. Samples are not available in stores, so text 369-369 and enter KNOCK.
Well, tonight we're right in the midst of our holiday weekend, but it is filled with tropical concerns. Places like Mobile, Alabama, Biloxi, Mississippi, New Orleans are on notice.
Potential tropical cyclone 7 is on the move and could become a tropical storm before it makes landfall. The information you need to know to stay safe over the next 48 hours.
All right, let's get right to our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knapp. And September is here, and boy, are the tropics really beginning to fire up in what is usually the biggest month.
Yeah, September is going to be rocking and rolling, I think, in the Atlantic Basin, unfortunately. Hopefully, most of the storms will roll away out to sea, but we've got this likely depression and then storm forming in the Gulf of Mexico. Once they get into the Gulf, they're going to affect somebody on land. And I think a lot of people are going to feel both wind and water effects from potential tropical cyclone 7, soon to be tropical depression 7, and then soon after that, sometime tomorrow probably, be tropical storm Gordon. That's following the formation of tropical storm Florence out in the eastern Atlantic, and another tropical wave coming off of Africa that we have to watch very carefully. By the way, don't rule out Florence making it all the way across and potentially directly affecting the United States. Don't know if that's going to happen. Just can't rule it out. Bermuda, same for you. Can't rule out some impacts over the next several days. We got plenty of time to watch that one. A lot less time to watch number 7. Olivia and Norman in the East Pack are headed westward. Norman could get close to Hawaii, but probably will pass to the north, and Olivia will probably pass even farther north and east of Hawaii. But Norman is still a Category 4. Boy, the East Pack has been busy. Atlantic, not as much during August, but as I said, September is looking to be a bit different, and we're off to a busy start, and this one likely to form close to home. This will become tropical depression 7 sometime on Monday, probably earlier part of the day, and then become the tropical storm after that. The center of circulation not formed yet. Doesn't seem to have a closed circulation with a well-defined center, but it's trying to do that between Cuba and Florida right now. Some thunderstorms on the eastern and northern side over Andros Island and approaching the greater Miami-Fort Lauderdale area. And if we look on the radar, look up close. So the greater metro area, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and eventually up into Palm Beach County, about to get some locally heavy rain. In fact, there's one locally heavy shower about to come right into downtown Fort Lauderdale and go right down 595 toward the inland suburbs like Davie and Weston and so forth. And this might have gusts to tropical storm force in it, might spin up a short-lived waterspout tornado. That's going to be a problem as we go into the day tomorrow, and the rainfall totals could really rack up. 2 to 4 inches will be common across South Florida. Isolated spots could get 6, 7, or even 8 inches of rain, so flash flood watch for Collier County, Broward County southward, and could get water-covered roads, intersections, the low spots, the canals could rise. So be very careful on the roads tomorrow in southern Florida, where the developing system plus the heating of the day will combine to cause a flash flood risk. After the system gets into the Gulf of Mexico, the wind shear is weak, the waters are warm in the Gulf, and strengthening is anticipated after it forms into a storm. Don't know exactly where it will make landfall or exactly what strength it will be when it comes ashore sometime late Tuesday into very early Wednesday. The farther west it goes, the longer it would take to come ashore. But in any event, Monday's the day to prepare on the northern Gulf Coast. You might have a little bit of time on Tuesday, but on that day, the weather will be going downhill. And this is not just going to be a coastal event. As it slows down Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, even though it will be weakening, it will likely dump a lot of rainfall in areas that have already been soaked over the last couple of days. So a flash flood risk will be a problem in that general area. Louisiana, Texas, and surrounding areas could get several inches of rainfall, a half a foot or more, maybe isolated spots getting close to a foot. A little early to really pinpoint that, but this is the European model's depiction. The GFS is not too far behind. So that is one of the problems that we have. Whether it's a hurricane, a tropical storm, a depression, they can all produce devastating flooding, and we're going to have to be urging you not to drive across water-covered roadways in the northern Gulf Coast even after it makes landfall. The event is just beginning for some of you. But the beginning of the event and through the landfall brings the risk of storm surge, the saltwater flooding onto normally dry ground. We could get 2 to 4 feet of storm surge flooding when you combine the push of the ocean, the Gulf, onto the ground. Combined with tide, we could get 2 to 4 feet above ground along the Mississippi coast and southeast Louisiana down to the mouth of the Mississippi River. 1 to 2 feet on either side of that. And so we have a storm surge watch, Nick, that was just issued at this 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 Central Advisory. And it's in a slightly different spot than the tropical storm watch, because the wind and the water don't always occur in the same spot.
And I need to ask you something, because this idea of a potential tropical cyclone, this is still fairly new for a lot of people. But,
yeah, it is.
But this happened on your watch when you were with the National Hurricane Center, the director there. How did that come about?
Yeah, it did, and it was born out of many, many instances, including in the Gulf of Mexico or in the Caribbean, where a tropical wave was approaching from the east, where a tropical storm or depression formed right near land. And the way it used to be is that you couldn't issue tropical storm or hurricane watches and warnings until it was actually at least a tropical depression. And the reason for that was we didn't think we could reliably issue watches and warnings until we had a closed circulation, had a depression or storm, and a lot of folks feared false alarms. But one instance, Nick, I remember very carefully evaluated afterward, was Tropical Storm Bill, that formed in the Gulf of Mexico right off the coast of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And it came ashore with only a few hours lead time on the tropical storm warning, and that was the last straw for me. I had already been beaten down everybody about needing to be able to issue these advisories sooner, but that put it over the top. So we just wanted to remove the restriction.
And maybe Gordon is also going to be a good example of why to do that as well.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we did it pre-Florence. We're going to do it pre-Gordon, and we did it several times last year. So the new procedure is, I think, beneficial, getting the watches and warnings up at the right time, not having to wait.
And certainly a lot of impacts are going to come from this, not the least of which is rainfall. So it's going to be over a widespread area from Florida back toward the northern Gulf Coast. And for Miami here, we're looking for that rain to reach probably in the 2 to 3 inch range, 15 to 25 mile per hour wind gusts tomorrow, and a high rip current risk. That risk of rain and thunderstorms goes all the way into Tuesday morning. So more rain coming your way there. We'll also see more rain, obviously, here along the Gulf Coast, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, even possibilities of some inland flooding as we get more of that rain pushing in. Mobile looking for that rain to last all the way into your Wednesday night. So again, a lot of things to watch. We'll continue to do that, and we hope you'll join us early in the morning for more of our continuing coverage.
The weather and the case were actually paralleling each other. Without the weather conditions, there would be no conviction in this case.
If you have psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats moderate to severe plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
Well, it finally happened, Zachary. Somebody burned down my she shed.
The she shed was struck by lightning.
Is my she shed covered by State Farm?
Your she shed's covered, Cheryl.
That's wonderful news.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.
And now your tropical update. Here's the latest advisory. A look from above. The latest forecast track.
That is some serious shit right there, boy.